Let's rock! We love you! Rock on, everyone! This party's not over yet. Get out your handkerchiefs for our special guest. That's right, baby. The night's just getting started. Thank you for coming to the Gaviner's Guilty as Charged tour. This ends the first part of tonight's show. There will now be a 20-minute intermission. Trucy is far more excited than Apollo to have been invited to one of Clavier's concerts. Right off the bat, I'll state that I enjoy the idea of focusing on Apollo, Trucy, and Clavier. They're going to bounce off each other a lot in this case, and their relationships are fun, realistic, and humorous. Apollo is much more down-to-earth, Trucy is whimsical and happy-go-lucky, and Clavier is cool and stylish. Apollo engages in sarcasm with the two of them, and most of the other characters in this game, and Clavier's smirk and Trucy's smile tend to persist no matter whom they're talking to. On the subject of Clavier, I decided to give him a more regular accent, closer to my real voice, during this case's investigation. It's canonical that he studied in Germany, but isn't German himself, so I headcanon that he plays this accent up on stage and in court, but doesn't strain himself around friends. Again, the cast of this game is eclectic enough to allow for such headcanons. That's one of this game's greatest strengths. And speaking of cast, we're quickly introduced to three new characters, Romain Latouche, Lamiror, and Maki Tobai. Lamiror is a beautiful foreign songstress whose primary language is Virginian, and whose calm voice and music Apollo actually enjoy. Romain is her agent and interpreter, and Maki is her pianist, a fellow Virginian who can't speak English or see, hence the sunglasses. Lamiror acts as the boy's eyes, and paints her sights into beautiful songs. And one of those songs is about to begin, a collaboration between Clavier and Lamiror. I'm only going to play it once in this review, but players will not be so lucky. Much like Rise from the Ashes' Blue Badger video, the Guitar Serenade is an unskippable cutscene that is played numerous times to highlight different aspects of the song. I'll tell you the number of times the following video is shown throughout the case, starting with 1. Sugar, sugar, oh that night in your embrace, when you stole away the keys, my heart held on to so tight. Pleasure, but a fleeting melody. It wraps itself around me, and now through the air I fly. My life away, all away. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky. Thank you, thank you. Links will be in the description if you want to watch every single failed attempt of mine to sing it live. The clip you just watched is from a standalone recording, which will also be applied to the dub for more professionalism, so you'll have to watch the outtakes on their own. While you're there, I might as well ask you to subscribe and join my Discord server. The server's pretty dead right now, but I'd love to be able to discuss these videos with people more. I do aim to entertain after all. The guitar burning on stage seems not to have been part of the plan. He's more upset about the concert than losing to Apollo, hammering home that he really doesn't care about a perfect win record. Back to what's important to Clavier, the third act is about to start, and Apollo decides to stay backstage while Trucy watches. Emma also shows up, another fast friend of Apollo's, much more happy to see him than to be working security. The two decide to chat. What was that? Was that a gunshot? Something's going on. You, out of my way! Emma! Lamiror! Lamiror! It's not locked.
I'm going in. What's that awful noise? Oh, it's the concert. It's Lamoureux's manager, Mr. What's his name? Latouche. Oh, no. Hey, you. Me? Watch this room for me. I have to call for backup. Right, understood. You want me to make sure no one comes in, right? And don't touch anything. I'll be right back. What's going on? I just talked to him and now... He's alive! Mr. Latouche, can you hear me? Shot. I was shot. Who shot you? I don't know. Ask what? Ask witness. Witness. There was a witness. Who? Cold. So cold. Witness. You're cold. Don't worry. You're going to be fine. Help is on the way. Can't see. Hang in there, Mr. Latouche. Tell me, who was the witness? The witness is siren. It's a siren. How could a siren witness anything? Mr. Latouche! Yeah, Emma! What was that? Who's there? What's wrong? Emma, did you see anyone just now? No. I could have sworn I heard a door close. The concert's been canceled. Backup's on its way. Is Mr. Latouche? He's dead, isn't he? That's terrible. I lost him.
By the way, the victim's last words will also be shown many times during this case. I will be keeping a counter for that as well. Ace Attorney is notorious for its copious flashbacks, and this case might have the most in the series. Yet another character shows up and leaves just as quickly, before Clavier tells everyone in the hall not to discuss the murder with anyone, even Lamoureux. Apollo reminds himself of the victim's last words before entering Lamoureux's room. Emma lets them investigate, and they discuss what happened with Trucy. The murder weapon seems to be a huge revolver, too big for even police officers, and a familiar brooch lies on the floor. Romaine's left hand holds a heart-shaped keyring, perhaps the killer's. Apollo and Emma found the room empty apart from the victim's body, and there aren't a lot of places to hide or escape from, apart from a small air vent on the ceiling. Emma leaves the room, and Trucy continues him to follow suit. A yellow suit similar to Trucy's adorns yet another mystery man, who doesn't say even a word to them as they pass in the hall. The two arrive on stage to see Clavier and the shark man from earlier, Darian Crescend, arguing about a misplaced note during their latest performance. Darian is a guitarist, too, and a detective. Now Clavier seems to care more about his concert than the current case, and asks Apollo to perform a touchscreen minigame and find whose instrument was played wrong tonight. Despite Apollo's protests and the seeming lack of relevance to the case, I find that this minigame is just a bit less shoehorned into the case than Emma's. Personal tangent, I love music making tools like this, and wish the remake sound test let you play with all the songs in the trilogy. In any case, Apollo finds that Darian was the one who missed a note, and Clavier is vindicated and vindictive. Apollo shows the keyring to Clavier, who claims that it's his. Of course, Apollo breaks the news that it was found in the victim's hand. Trucy presses Clavier to go into detail about today's burdens. His keyring was stolen, so he had to call a taxi and force his guitar case open. The guitar didn't last much longer than the case, of course. Everyone watched it blow up on stage. And finally, Romain Latouche died. Trucy finds these events familiar. They follow the lines of the guitar's Serenade. Darian leaves to contact the Virginian embassy, and Clavier likes some time to himself, so Apollo and Trucy go to the Governor's dressing room now to talk with Lamoureux. Surprisingly, she speaks English. Hiding her fluency was Romain's idea, to add to her exoticism. She sends Maki away for some fresh air, and Apollo asks her a few questions. She's not supposed to speak English in public or talk about her past, and Trucy knows that she's known as the Siren of the Ballad. Where have we heard that before? She's been with Maki for a while, but Romain only became her manager 3 months ago, and she knows little about him. After another mention, Apollo catches on that Lamoureux is the siren the victim was talking about, and we cut to his last words for the second time. He presses Lamoureux on what she saw, but she declines to say anything to an attorney with no client. They take a postcard of her as the landscape painter in sound, and ask about the brooch they found on the floor. Lamoureux confirms that it is hers, and the two leave. Emma bumps into them in the hall, angry at Apollo for leaving the scene. Somehow, Romain Latouse's body has left the dressing room. Clavier's in Lamiror's room too, and he's just as upset. Darian says that his guitar's been stolen too, and everyone splits up to search. Apollo and Trucy notice that the stage's center has arisen like in the Guitar Serenade, and decide to climb.
It didn't look that high from below, really. But when we got to the top, I felt every one of those 15 feet down. Of course, I wasn't thinking about the height anymore. Not after what we found up there. Eee! We found 2 things we were looking for, and 1 thing we never expected to find. The body, guitar in hand, and the pianist, Maki Tobai.
The next morning, Clavier visits Apollo and Trucy. He says that people above even him want this case wrapped up quickly, and that Maki Tobai, now the prime suspect, wants Apollo as his attorney. He and Trucy head to the detention center to talk, but that's a little difficult. Yet another trial is about to start before Apollo's gotten a word in with his client. This game in general is phenomenal at establishing an atmosphere with its graphics and sound. As a Pokemon player, it's not something I care about that often, but the DS's capabilities gave the team so much more to work with, and while both the original GBA trilogy and the latter 3 games have been remade, there's still a markable difference between the assets of the games, as this entry has a more technologically advanced base. I bring this up now because, for one, I barely got to talk about the sprites and music in Turnabout Corner, but for 2, seems like the Guitar Serenade are allowed to play it on the screen. It was a treat in 2007, and it's still a pleasure now. Lamiror's and Clavier's themes each fit them perfectly, signaling what they're like before they've said a word. When you listen to their themes, Lamiror's is playing right now, that character becomes the focus of the scene. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Clavier's focus on music and the decision to have a case built around one of his concerts were influenced by the capabilities of the Nintendo DS. As for the case itself, a lot happens really quickly. I didn't even realize this section of the review had over 15 paragraphs until I looked just now, and this case ramps up similarly. In a few ways, this case is similar to Turnabout Corner. Several crimes have happened in quick succession, and they all seem rather connected. The non-murder crimes are present to the game's long-standing characters, and the murders themselves happen after several of the characters have been established, though the murder happens much earlier in Turnabout Serenade. As I mentioned, Apollo doesn't get to talk to his client yet, but both cases have given the main characters time to shine. Trucy was greatly involved in Turnabout Corner, and now Clavier's personal side makes itself known. Regardless of how close Apollo and Clavier get though, they'll have to face off yet again in court tomorrow.